Hi everyone, it's Lucky Pups or Ollie, and welcome back to another video on my channel. If you're new here, I hope you enjoy your stay. Today we're going to be answering some questions that you probably have about art, whether you're a beginner, still getting used to the more professional side of this hobby, or like I guess career if you're getting into it. Hopefully you'll find answers that you're looking for. So let's just get right into it. The first question that I have here is, do you need talent to be good at art? Now, personally, I don't think that talent is something that people are born with. I feel like talent is just like a passion that you've grown yourself, basically. It's kind of like, I think Bob Ross said something like it's a pursued interest. And I totally agree with that. You know, anyone can be good at art if they just, keep working on it and keep practicing. So, yeah, I feel like anyone can be good at art. It's not something that people should be worried about. I think the hardest part is just starting. I feel like once you've got started and you're in the mode, you'll get better and you'll learn and you'll see progress. And I think that's what's so great about art. How do you find your art style? This one is a big question, and I feel like a whole video could be dedicated to this, but to put it in short, try to take inspiration from things that you enjoy. So, like, if you watch TV shows, like cartoon shows, if you read like mangas or anything like that, take inspiration from artists that you look at, and if you want to draw like them, try and recreate their style to a degree. All artists have been inspired from something. So, take inspiration from their inspiration. It's just one of those things where it just comes naturally. Once you get used to drawing, it kind of just comes to you. Kind of like when you're doing handwriting. Like if you learn how to write, you kind of get your own handwriting, and that's just kind of how an art style is. Can you make money from art? Yes, you can, if you get good at it. Now, I'm not saying that beginner artists shouldn't start commissions. I don't care about all that. It's whatever. If you have an audience for it, you should capitalize on it. In a world like this one where everything costs money, do what you want. You know what I mean? Like make your bag. But um I feel like you shouldn't have expectations when it comes to art because it's a very, very rich area. There's so much demand. There are so many people who underprice themselves, which brings the whole market demand lower. There are people who actually, no, never mind. There's not anyone who overprices. But there are people who do like AI art and stuff, and people who scam people, and it definitely makes it a lot harder to make a career within the industry. So I feel like yes, you can make money from art, but it is very difficult to get into it, and it's very difficult to capitalize on if you don't really know the industry and you don't know how to market yourself that well. So definitely get like a business course or something so you can learn how to do that. How much should artists charge? Again, this depends from person to person, artist to artist. Typically, you want to be charging yourself above minimum wage. If your art takes 2 hours to draw, make it cost like 2 hours worth of work. Make yourself get paid what you owe, like you're owed. For me personally, it takes me about an hour to an hour and a half to draw a complete piece. So, like a full piece would be about, I'd say maybe like $25. Because to me, like converting that's about like 2 hours worth of work. So yeah, I think just price it how you feel, but don't underprice yourself. Even though it might seem like you're doing yourself a favor, in the long run, you're not. You're actually harming your brand and stuff. So I feel like definitely make sure to price yourselves properly. There's a lot of really good videos online about pricing your art as an artist, so I definitely check those out. And I'm planning to make my own in the future, so if you want to see that, please leave a like and subscribe. It means a lot, and I'll get right onto that. But yeah, I feel like it definitely just depends. What's better, digital or traditional? So this one depends again because art is very subjective. It's all about what you prefer and what your like preferred use of media is. I prefer both. I like both of them. I don't think I'd live with just one because I use both of them interchangeably. I like to put my traditional stuff into my digital stuff. I like to put my digital stuff on my wall so I can look at it traditionally. I like to add things traditionally to my digital artworks. I feel like it just depends on what you're into. I feel like a lot of people use digital because it's a lot more accessible. There's a lot more programs that are free, and you can hone your color theory skills and stuff a lot easier because you don't have to like mess with like creating your own colors and stuff. But I do definitely think it's worth trying both and seeing which you like and seeing which one you want to take further. How long did it take you to get good, quote unquote? So art is subjective, like I've been saying. It's not something that people just get good at. It's something that slowly gets better and better over time. I think I definitely improved a lot more once I started doing it as a full-time course in college. I feel like I was able to draw a lot more often. I feel like the only reason I improved is because I drew more often and because I was more passionate about it, and I was trying to include it with things that I was already interested in, like my identity and mental health, which is something I've always been keen on learning about and educating myself on. So I feel like because of that, I was able to improve more because, it's something that I wanted to do. It's something that I was genuinely interested in. And I feel like that's definitely where my turning point for my art was. I definitely learned a lot more about anatomy and color theory and all that stuff. And all of that stuff I learned by myself. Even though I was in college, it wasn't so much that I was being taught how to do art. I was being taught about the art industry. So I feel like, yeah, even though I got better at college, it was only because I was doing more art. So genuinely, the more art that you do, the better you get. And I'd say you can make a lot of progress in just 6 months. If you do something for 6 months, try new things, I think you can get to a pretty good place. Do you ever hate your own art? Of course I do. I feel like every artist does. You're always gonna hate something. I feel like, especially with art that you spent a lot of time on, if you're looking at it for a really long period of time, then you're gonna start to hate it. It's boring to look at the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I've had art pieces that I hate. I still post them sometimes because I think it's important to acknowledge that even artists who are trained to be artists and even artists who have been doing it for a really long time still make mistakes and still make things that they don't like. And, things that I don't like, some people might like. Like, I posted a drawing the other day that I absolutely hated. And someone DM'd me to say, hey, like, this is really good. Can I commission you? And I was like, well, this is terrible, but okay. And yeah, it was just very strange, because I hated it. But, there's still a bit of me inside the art piece, so I don't hate it completely. It's just one of those things that a lot of people I feel are too hard on themselves. And when they say they hate their own art, I feel like they don't understand that it's part of them. I kind of feel like my art is an extension of myself, if that makes sense. So, do with that what you will. How do you choose colors? This one is a very, very awkward question because I personally just throw a bunch of colors onto my page and hope that it fits. A lot of the time, I do my stuff based on experimentation and just like guessing. I feel like because I've had muscle memory and like that, I've exercised my brain, I guess, to figure out what looks good together. I've kind of got the knowledge already to just be able to throw it all together. And I think I've learned that from just throwing stuff together because my earlier art pieces are terrible. Like, you can see mismatched colors everywhere. The contrast is like abhorrent, and it's just really not good. But I think from doing that, I'm able to wing it now. I'm able to experiment better because I kind of know what works and I can kind of work around it. Adding on to that is, how often do you draw? So I used to draw pretty much every day when I was in college because it was literally my coursework. I used to animate for my final project, so I pretty much drew every day then. Nowadays, I'd say I'm drawing at least like 3 times every other day. So I'll do a day of drawing, a day of editing, a day of drawing, a day of editing, with work in between and stuff like that, and my social life. So I feel like I'm drawing pretty often. I'd never want to stop drawing. So if that means anything to you guys. The next question is, what supplies do beginners actually need? Now, this ranges from what type of art you like to do. Obviously, I wouldn't suggest to a beginner who doesn't like painting to get, a set of acrylic paints, acrylic markers or whatever. I wouldn't suggest that because it's not what they're into. It's just, for me personally, I would suggest whatever art medium got you interested in art, I would get, a cheap version of that and see if you like it and continue going down that alley. I feel like there's no point wasting lots of money on lots of expensive art supplies if you don't fully invest yourself into the hobby, if that makes sense. Like, if you don't really enjoy art, don't spend a lot of money on it because, you're not gonna enjoy it, you're not gonna take it any further, so why waste money? But having said that, I do think that you should invest money into things that you were super interested in. So, if you saw a video of somebody who made oil paintings, and that's how you got into art, I would definitely, try oil painting. And if you like that, you can try acrylic painting. If you don't like that, that's fine. Just, make sure you're doing it in moderation so that you don't spend all your money at once. I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in consumerism nowadays and just spend as much money as you want and just, get right into it. And I feel like TikTok is a very big issue, like a contributor to this. But, like I said, I don't think that there's any like necessary art supplies. I mean, you can make art with pretty much anything, like paper and a pencil. You can literally make art with just a pencil and just paper. You can make art on your wall, you can make art on a whiteboard, you can make art like on the floor. I'm just saying it's a very accessible hobby. You can make it pretty much anywhere. How did you get your first commission? I actually like this question because my first commission was by a TikTok streamer. I used to be a streamer back in the day, back before college, and I was in high school, and I did Twitch streaming, and someone messaged me on TikTok, and they were like, "Hey, who did your profile picture? I really like the art style," and I was like, "Oh, it was actually me," and he was like, that's amazing. Could I commission you?" And I'd never done a commission before, but I was like, you know what? There's a first time for everything. Give me $5. I've got you. He was like, $5? Okay, got you. So he sent me $5 and I drew him a profile picture, and the rest is history. Is tracing cheating? Um, I don't think so. I think tracing is a great tool to learn. I don't think you should use it when you're like, if you do commissions, you definitely shouldn't be tracing someone else's work to do that commission. But for learning anatomy and learning like basic shapes and stuff and learning how form works, definitely tracing is a really good tool to use, and I don't think it's classed as cheating. Um, it's one of those things where a lot of people have mixed opinions on, but personally to me, tracing is a really great way to just learn how life works and how the body works. Adding on to this, is AI art a threat to artists? I do believe that it is partially a threat, but I also don't think it will. Because in the long run, AI art isn't sustainable. Eventually, we will run out of resources, and yeah, it'll be a big problem when it happens, but I don't think in the long term, like thinking like, thousands and thousands of years from now, I don't think it is a threat to artists. To artists in this generation, yeah, I do believe it is a threat, and it does take away a lot of opportunities from artists. But, long term, thousands of years from now, I don't think so. What inspired you to become an artist? For me personally, it was kind of just being able to write my own story, make my own characters, and just have people interested in the things that I create. I like being able to make things that people relate to, and I like having people who understand what I'm going through, and I can communicate better through my art. It's how I express myself, so it's something that I really appreciate, and that's pretty much why I became an artist and what inspired me to be one. In terms of like inspirations to me, people who inspire me, I guess I'm mostly inspired by like animes and the Ninja Turtles. I feel like I'm really into like action scenes and scenes with a lot of cinematography. It's something that I'm very interested in. I'm interested in like lighting and stuff like that. And yeah, I feel like in terms of like artists that I'm inspired in, definitely like a lot of manga artists. If you quit art, what would you do? So if I quit art today, I would probably be a writer because it's the second medium where I'm able to explore myself and express myself, and it's something I've always been really good at. I think that I would like to put my art and my writing together one day, but until then, my art is probably my best bet. I do want to write a book in the future. Well, I've started writing a book, but I've been like, I'm really bad at writing long form books. Short books I'm pretty good at, but long form books like novels, it's something that I want to do, but at the moment it's just not viable because I just don't have the time to set aside to write a full length novel. Having said that, I do think that I would definitely be a writer or like maybe like like a movie director, writing my own scripts and like directing them maybe. Obviously I'd be like an independent artist doing it, but yeah, I've always been a very creative person, so I feel like if I couldn't do like digital or physical art, I would definitely do another form of art. But yeah, I hope that you got some pretty helpful answers there. I know that a lot of them are very subjective, but that's because art is a very subjective area. It's something that, you know, it really is personal to you and it's personal to people in general. Having said that, if you have any more questions that you'd like answered, let me know in the comments down below and I would happily put them in another video and I'd happily like answer them. Having said that, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I love you all and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!